Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Before we get into some NFL Week 10, sincere thoughts to anyone who's in the crypto space who's going through a tough couple of days. I lost money in FTX almost certainly, or maybe I'll get made whole in 5 years. Who knows? But this was a wild one.
Mount Gox times 2.
Yeah, this is probably going to go down as one of the larger financial scams, Ponzi's, losses for investment of all time.
I was going to say there'll be whole podcasts on this. There already are. Like if you need catch up, hit us up, and if you want any recommendations on articles or podcasts to listen to. But
you saw the news that Michael Lewis has been with the FTX guys for like a year and change, writing a book about them.
Yeah.
So now
I think my favorite part of
this is going to be very much a movie, I would guess.
The NFL tie-in is going to be the fact that Brady may, and we don't know if this is true, but Brady may have had a lot of money into FTX. So
I'm sure his focus is very much on the Seattle Seahawks and Munich, Germany this week.
This is where I'm at, Drew. No, this is where I'm at.
I think it's a real thing.
I don't think the divorce had anything to do with football. I think they already knew this was coming weeks ago. And Brady and Giselle's like, you lost all of your money in this stupid crypto thing, Tom. And she's like, I'm leaving you and to go model more. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't eat strawberries. So
well, he has the $300 million thing with Fox, so he could have just done that.
He'll be okay. Yeah, he's gonna be all right.
But still, it's the echoes into the world of football are pretty amazing. Year over year, crypto down from 69K to who knows where the bottom is. This is a tough time. And if you work in the space, if you kind of specifically like, I guess that's who I feel the worst for, besides just people who have like lost their life savings now. People who kind of devoted careers to developing in the crypto space. You know, they left the job at Facebook, whatever, although your job at Facebook was, developing legs for people in Meta. You got fired. You're getting fired anyway. Just there's probably there are a lot of people that have devoted their lives to developing things in the cryptocurrency space. And even if this is just a bump in the road, certainly the future of that space now is going to be kind of marred with. It's not the free financial future that they were promised in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be heavily regulated now. This will kind of hang over everything, I think, for a long time. So kind of a bummer of a day. And hopefully, if any of you guys are heavy duty liquidity traders, you got your coins in your pocket, because the old saying, if they're not your keys, they're not your coins.
I use FTX quite a bit, but I luckily keep nothing there. Everything
that's kind of been there most since the bear market, right?
So I had to go look, because sometimes I just keep like swings in there, and I'm like, I have nothing. Okay, good. Like 14 cents in there or something.
Yeah,
they could have my dust. But yeah, it is week. On a happier note, it is week 10, and I guess right back to a depressing note. The week does start with a Thursday night football game between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Drew asked, where is the bottom? We're going to explore that right off the bat with this one. Boy. And this was a game that we had a couple weeks ago and was essentially for the lead in the division. And as we sit right now, the Falcons still aren't that far out of things. And yeah, we are halfway point regular season. We're through 9 weeks. We have 18 weeks technically. So this is our halfway point. As the poet laureate of New Jersey said, we're halfway there. What's up, Bon Jovi? And it is, as Dan was talking to me before the game a little, it is supposed to be nasty in Charlotte.
Yeah, it looks gross.
So we're having Bears weather in Panther. Well, who's that bear? What's that bear doing? That guy's not even there anymore. Do you any thoughts on betting this one? Because I feel like I'm going to do first touchdown score or halftime, and that's it. I went back and forth. I'll let you talk first. I had a little bit of an internal drama with myself that lasted all of 10 minutes, and I said, "Why am I have 8 other bets. I don't need to bet this game."
Well, we got back on the right side for our primetime halftime plays, so I'm going to just very carefully follow and grind a halftime angle for us, so we can keep that momentum that we've got going now. I don't have an opinion on the pregame flop here. We are looking at a 2.5 that is juicy at some spots, flat at bookmaker. Total is down in the 42.5 range. Just kind of commenting on the sort of the market movement here. We had a 3 at one point, a flat 3 at one point. So Panthers money showed up. I saw a couple of positive news tidbits trickle in from the Panthers defense. Now, Atlanta had absolutely no problem gaining yards in typical Atlanta fashion the last time these two teams played. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to be different this time. Total down from 44.5 to 42.5, I think largely speaks to some of the good news on the defensive player availability as well as the weather impact. Although, 30-mile-an-hour winds, we'll see. I mean, that sounds like maybe like peak gusts, maybe. I don't think
who doesn't give a shit about 30-mile-an-hour winds?
PJ Walker.
No, PJ Walker too. But the Atlanta Falcons, who just have like 4 running backs, are going to cycle through. One of them is disguised as a quarterback even. He'll take some direct snaps. There's going to be a bunch of direct snap plays to the running back who's technically a quarterback. And I looked at this and I said, if I look at my numbers, the Falcons offense can actually move. We've seen some things work on the ground. I'd look at a 2.5 here, and then I said, Anna, you don't bet road favorites when it's a bad team, an overall bad team with a real rough defense. So I said, well, if it were a 3, division game, home dog, nasty weather, horrible secondary for the Falcons. It's like, Andy, I think we're probably done betting the Panthers too, like unless I can get some real big numbers again. So there was small cases for both sides and stronger cases to not bet both sides. So I left it alone.
Yeah, this is Falcons are pass in my mind, even at 2.5. Probably going to be a Baker Mayfield game. I mean, PJ Walker, you've done well in relief, but I think Mayfield probably played well enough in garbage time to get the start here. You have a read on that?
I think they're starting Walker.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I thought
I was going to guess Mayfield was the guy. Oh, Walker is going to start. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool. Well, then I'm off. I'll be watching. No real solid read on me on this one. I want to answer Brian's question. How much does the crypto fiasco impact the betting market? There's a realistic correlation because without Bitcoin as a utility, getting on and off offshore books is a problem. Also, at the highest levels, doing peer-to-peer matching for people in the gambling community, settlement via Bitcoin is the only way you can really. You can't settle over 5 figures peer-to-peer without it.
I'd like to interject. Bitcoin didn't go anywhere. Like it's going to be fine.
No,
it just it is going to this is good. I think it's overall good for people who use it for those purposes to learn the same lessons that everybody learned in the normal financial, markets years and years and years ago as things like this happened and houses collapsed and we've had financial crises for hundreds of years. Like this is the same thing repeating itself in a different way. And I mean, you're right. Like it's such a beautiful utility I haven't taken a withdrawal from a sports book I can't think of the last time I took it that wasn't in Bitcoin. It's years.
We're talking like 2016, probably?
Yeah.
15?
I'd say at least 5 years.
At least 5.
As soon as you found out how quick it was, it's like, well, why would I wait for a check or wait for a wire?
Yeah.
And then also a lot of it just comes down to I got the shit kicked out of me at Bookmaker for 2 weeks, and I can't lose a bet at Bet Online. So now I'm taking withdrawal simply just to balance it.
Balancing
so I
your
have money
books.
in this
Yeah.
other book. Yeah. So I mean, on the other hand, too, like because I hate it. I had to preface it with that, so I didn't sound like all these deposits I'm making because I'm such a degen. But I do make all the deposits like that, and obviously in Bitcoin too. So the utility can't be denied, and I think it'll be fine. I just hopefully people learn that. Yeah, not your keys, not your coins.
Well, yeah,
don't leave shit in exchanges.
I mean, the big question is are we at or near the bottom? And if we're not, then liquidity becomes a big issue for a lot of our offshore friends, a lot of our market making friends, some of us on this podcast become. I don't want my liquidity pinched. No way. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm more at with and as irresponsible as it may sound, like one of the best ways to protect yourself is, if you would form price volatility, is to have that basically in US dollars in a book, in a book account. Now that you got to be cognizant of how much you're willing to leave in there for how long. But,
and this is a good point too, does this help legal books as people get scared to use overseas, offshore? I think that we're going to have the same conversation in like 2 years when like there's some, we could have a Black Friday situation with the offshores where people have a bunch of money tied up and they can't get it out or something. I often worry about that.
I worry about that all the time. Yeah.
That's the answer to that. You can't keep massive amounts in your offshores either. That's why having a cold storage wallet feels so good.
Surely. Yeah, I mean, just a fresh kind of thought on counterparty risk is worthwhile for everyone at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Because, this has contagion to Wall Street. This has contagion to a lot of other things. So, yeah, not great, Bob. On that note, Tom Brady took a haircut this week. Probably the biggest haircut of any athlete going. At
least his flight was paid for by the team. He didn't have to dole out any money to fly to Germany.
Oh man, look at Baker Mayfield talking shit. Holy shit.
Do you think it's the same guy? It's just
no, I don't. I think this is Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker. For whatever reason, they're super into the gambling space.
Watch out. Yeah, we've seen that in your own division. We've seen that been a problem. But and again, staying inside that same division, the Buccaneers got to win. If you give, it's like the carnival game where you pick the ducks. Everyone's a winner. Give someone enough tries, you're going to pick a duck with a prize at the bottom of it. Tom Brady hasn't looked good in a month, but you give him 13 shots at the end zone to win a game. One of them's going to come through. And, you need to have a little more offense.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a little more offense to keep him from getting the ball the second time. I really want to put more blame on the Rams than give credit to the Buccaneers, but at the same time, they got the win. They pushed themselves to a division leading record. They can further push that with a win here on a neutral site at a Lions field in beautiful Bavaria. And as we talked about on Sunday, we were probably just going to bet the Seahawks, and I did bet the Seahawks. There was a plus 130 on Bookmaker on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm riding the horse that's been brought me, and I don't know how you've adjusted your overall defensive rankings for the Seahawks, but as I mentioned Sunday too, like that's probably surprised me more than Geno being good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact is how rough this defense was, how porous it was all last year.
Yeah.
And without that many additions, how good it's become. And it's not a great defense.
Yeah.
But this being a middle of the pack defense was an outlier event, honestly.
Yeah. Since the Detroit game, which is like a 5 or 6 week sample, or definitely over the last 4 weeks, they've been the number 2 defense in EPA per play. So that's a quarter of the season now. You have evidence that these guys are for real. 2 of those games were against Kyler Murray. One of those games against Daniel Jones. I mean, I still think that realistically, the Seahawks team, the funny thing about the Seahawks, they're still market rated like they're nothing. Neutral
That-
field,
that's
3-point
the
dogs, 2.5-point dogs.
issue. Like, why? That's the question for this game. Like, we bet this. We're betting the Seahawks. We think this number's silly. This should be a pick 'em. It's on a neutral. All right, we're done with that. Here's the question for the game, Drew. Why does the market not want to adjust the Seahawks up enough? And why do they not? Maybe. And am I wrong in asking that question? Is it why haven't they adjusted the Buccaneers down enough?
It's a great question.
Little column A, little column B. I don't understand what's going on here.
I mean, I bet the Seahawks again this week. This is going to be like the 6th consecutive week. This literally could just be the Seahawks are holding the NFC Championship trophy, and people are like, I think Seattle might be good. like it's going to take that to really kind of earn the respect, apparently, because even in a year when like you can't say with the straight face that anyone has been that good, the Seahawks have been. They've been performing. It doesn't mean that it will continue in perpetuity, but there was a moment in the game with Seattle last week where Geno Smith threw a pick six. And if you are been a Seahawks faithful with us, you got a little bit of a chill. Like
it felt bad. Like, oh no, like somebody just pulled the king of diamonds out of your house of cards.
Yeah, like, oh, now we unwind. Like, how does he bounce back from this? Well, he bounced back incredibly effectively. Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, no, actually, no, not an issue at all.
Like it pissed him off more than
anything. Exactly.
They trucked from there.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see it, and it gave me a little bit more, kind of courage to just be like, this is real. This is not, a short-term deal. And I forget who I talked to about this. It might have been us on Sunday, but like, this is unusual territory for me. There's almost never a season goes through where it's just every week we're banging the drum for the same team. And we're never it's never a matter of, now's the pivot point.
No, I mean, we pivot all the time. We bet against
never.
On and against
never.
The Cardinals.
Never.
Like 6 different times. We go back and forth with a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And as someone's pointing out here, the draft picks, yes, like not only the fact that you found good draft picks, but so often it's hard for you to find secondary pieces that contribute right away. There's so many secondary pieces like, hey, this guy's good. Well, it's year 3. Yeah. Remember how bad he was as a rookie? But like to be able to do that twice in the same draft, like with Bryant and Woolen, the fact that they're both contributing and then also, drafting some edge rushers, drafting a running back. This honestly, at the end of the year, and I don't care if they take some steps back and they finish like 8 and 9. If this starts to fall apart a little and this team doesn't end up being like this great team that makes a run in the playoffs or, really competes for division, I don't even give a shit. This draft probably trumps that Saints draft.
Oh, yeah.
It's sick to draft 2 corners that start and play. Like that's so hard to nail right away. The fact is like, I'm kind of excited for him long-term.
Yeah, I am too. And, I mean, there's been even other like good, exciting young players like Darrell Taylor who haven't even played. He's been out, hurt. It hasn't mattered. I mean,
Geno Smith is making less than some backup quarterbacks. Like he's on a 1-year deal. He's gonna have to renegotiate, obviously. But like they still probably have a little leverage. They have a good cap situation
for sure.
The NFC West is so interesting every fucking year.
Okay, so here's thoughts about this game then. They match up well against the Bucs. This is a balanced offense. The Bucs defense has, you can score on these guys. They certainly have not been the same in the pass rush without Shaq Barrett. They certainly, have some pieces in the secondary that I'm excited to try to attack. Shane Waldron is, former Rams guy who had all of the answers for Todd Bowles' defense. Not last year. Obviously, Shane Waldron wasn't with the Rams last year, but the previous year, he's kind of always had a good gauge on how to attack this type of defense, in my opinion. And I think that, that assuming that you get over the time zone issue, then Seattle wins this game. They should be favored. That's the kind of the crux of the question. Well, there's two angles here. Does Seattle come out flat because they are basically going to be kicking off at what amounts to 6:30 a.m. their time? Does that impact their performance at all? As far as I know, they've given themselves a decent enough time to adjust in terms of traveling to Munich. No real advantage from what I've seen between them and the Bucs. But Brady being potentially distracted by everything that's going on outside of the world of football is still very real in my mind. I think there is a decent chance that you're not getting peak Brady in this game. I mean, you haven't seen peak Brady all year, but the idea that even his best of this year shows up in this game, I take exception to. So, yeah, wrong team favored.
And that's the thing too. Like, I've had a few different friends get divorced, and this is, again, small sample size for me, but it doesn't seem to be a middle ground. You either have guy who is absolutely torn up, his life is over, he can't believe this relationship has ended, he knew her since high school and he's just depressed, or I am finally free, he's at the bar banging anything with a pulse and drinking till 3 a.m. for like 2 straight months. Like, those are the two scenarios that I've seen after a divorce. So either way, distracting. Those seem like both ways to be distracting. And granted, I know he takes football seriously, but yeah, the FTX thing and the divorce and just stinking. He hasn't stunk like this for a while.
Yeah,
it's got to be distracting. So we'll see. But either way, just straight power numbers, straight matchup. The missing pieces, Akeem Hicks might throw a little fly in the ointment if this run defense plays a little better. But I believe in the run scheme. I believe in Kenny Walker III, and we'll move on to Sunday.
Ken, as he likes to be known.
Yeah.
Antoine Winfield Jr. is worth keeping an eye on. Have you gotten a report one way or the other, or feel one way or the other if he plays?
I think the concussion still keeps him out.
Okay, that's huge. That's
Giorgio, our friend Giorgio points out, has Seattle faced a good quarterback all season? Are we sure Brady's a good quarterback right now? Like, and nothing against him, but the lack of continuity with the receivers. He hasn't looked like a good quarterback for big chunks of these games.
Yeah, the answer to has Seattle faced a good quarterback all season has Seattle played the Bills or the Chiefs? Yeah. No, they have not. So no, they have not.
or Kirk Cousins with the chain. Like, it's different now playing Kirk Cousins.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Jacksonville at KC, one of the aforementioned good quarterbacks. Big.
He's still young.
Big.
Like, we'll see. Yeah. Talking Trevor?
Talking Mahomes, obviously. Your new favorite for MVP. I'll get your take on that in a second, but this is now a 9.5-point spread. This is a big old number for a team in the Chiefs that didn't look great against the Titans, got a win anyway. Taking on a frisky Jaguars team that was staring certain defeat in the face against the Las Vegas Raiders, managed to fight their way out of it, claw their way out of it. This Jaguars defense, though, there were some broken plays against the Raiders that were just, wow. What were they doing? That was awful. If up against an Andy Reid schemed offense, that is going to be a problem. So Chiefs getting into the 30s here feels like a very realistic expectation, at which point the total at 50.5 seems a little bit low. I think the Jaguars can get going here. I like what you're seeing with their balanced offense lately. Trevor Lawrence has been able to step it up and kind of really shine against some tough tests this year. He just has let down against some of the worst teams. So weird kind of roller coaster year from Mr. Lawrence. But I played this over. Not my favorite look on the card. One of the last ads here for me as I was kind of rounding up what I was going to bet. And because I made this 51.5, I bet 50.5 to the over.
Yeah, I didn't have a strong take either way. I did view this as there's a lot of scenarios where this total will be too low in game.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguars jumping out to a lead, the game being low scoring and competitive in the first half. Both of those probably lend themselves to some nice second half over spots. So I'm looking at this game as a live trader, but not a lot of strong convictions on this one. The Jags did what they did, but they're not the first team to do that against the Raiders. There's not, the Raiders seem to have this weird inability to adjust and cough up these games. They're turning into the Chargers of old, I guess, where they're just coughing up these big leads. And the fact that I mean, both parts of that game have me concerned about the Jags, like how bad they looked in the first half against Devontae. Like that's a problem, and I know it's not the same Chiefs offense, but there's some people that can do just what they did. They're getting some stuff out of all of their receivers. It's just not the same as what they were doing with Tyreek, and Kelsey's still a god, obviously. So I don't know. Like I struggle to see how the Jaguars stay competitive in this one, but at the same time, the spread's too big. According to my, how do you power rank this team? Like what's your spread on this? Mine's 9.
7.5. Not a huge difference.
Yeah. So it's anything over 7 is, like you said, probably not a huge difference, but I want no part of this.
Yeah. I'm not giving a Chiefs a ton of home field advantage, really. Maybe that's part of the reason I'm a little on the low side. But yeah, again, like if I was to take a specific opinion about what's going to happen here, I think the Chiefs are going to absolutely shred this trash defense. I don't know. Did you see any of the busted plays that I'm talking about?
Yes, that's what I'm worried about. Like this first half could be gross.
Yeah. Okay. I think the overs will look weak conviction. Do you think Mahomes ever looks back from being the MVP favorite?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple games this year where they haven't been great. I think we have a fun 3-way contest all the way to the end.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's funny how like Patrick Mahomes' MVP chances are probably dictated by his defense. If he puts him in situations where he needs to run up the stats a little, that helps him.
It's going to be a crisp 40 in KC with 5-mile-an-hour winds, if you were wondering. Nice football weather, baby. Houston at the New York Giants. Meadowlands in November can be a tough place to play. Wind can affect things. Thankfully, the New York Giants have a ground-based attack that is going up against a team that cannot defend the run. 2 weeks to prepare for the Texans defense is 13 days too many for Brian Dable. He can get it done in one day. I think this is Sack Barkley explosivo, and Texans with the opportunity to score some garbage time points against the Giants team that's missing a couple of pieces all of a sudden in the secondary. I'm not sure if you saw Xavier McKinney hurt his hand in Cabo on the bye. He matters.
Yeah, boat trip too.
He matters. Yeah. Boat trip too. Electric Boogaloo. McKinney is going to miss several weeks. They also put a cornerback on IR who was getting some meaningful snaps. Who was it? I've lost track of my notes here, but you're down to a secondary that features Adoree Jackson and a bunch of guys. A player named Dane Belton will be your starting strong safety. Julian Love will be your starting free safety. There's going to be a Fabian Moreau sighting.
Julian Love is in the chat. There's a lot of hearts right now.
And Darnay Holmes. So yeah, I mean this is a rough secondary. And I think, Mills, if he has any kind of help from his wide receiver room, is going to be able to put up some garbage points here, which means 40.5, probably not going to be under that much pressure. I don't think this is going to tick over somewhat early in my mind. I don't see this as a defensive game whatsoever. Texans, as long as they can get some sort of pass pro, they're gonna answer here. And again, Giants and Saquon Barkley probably ought to be your solid favorite for rushing leader of the week.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at some Saquon props. I have some Giants. I have a bad number on the Giants. If Nico and Cooks play, maybe they can do something through the air. I don't know. I'd make them try. We talk about the Texans being a bad rush defense. The Giants are kind of a bad rush defense too. They're improving, but I think both running backs have a good game. One way or the other, the leading rusher might come out of this game. It might not be Saquon. But if I were Dable and I had time to prep and I watched last Thursday's game, I would be very much focused. I'd be very much focused on stopping him, saying make Davis Mills throw it to these wide receivers that haven't played much, that we don't have, there's not a lot of continuity with right now. So Yeah, good luck to the Texans. I think this could be a Giants. I hope it's a Giants blowout. I took a bad number here. I don't.
Yeah, what do you make of that? Who bet the Texans and why?
Chernoff did.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he has market. There's enough people in his Telegram channel where the market will jump a little when he makes a play. But
that's what that
he
was.
made some good cases.
What was the?
The case is the Giants probably shouldn't be laying big points against anybody. They're not that good of a team. They're a little fraudulent, and their defense could be exposed a little against the run here as well. But I don't know. I played it anyway.
I think the Giants are a bet on for like a couple of weeks here.
Yeah,
this looks like because the Giants they're well coached. Daniel Jones, I think, can take a lot of positives out of the way he played over the first half of the season. They struggled last time out against the Seattle Seahawks, but that was an awful travel spot for them. They had a lot of travel in the first half of their schedule. They went to London, didn't get a bye out of that. I think that team was kind of ground down a little bit, but still managed to put together some impressive wins. The Ravens and Jaguars in particular. They come out of their bye. They get Texans, Lions back to back here. This could be an 8-2 team. I think that's realistic expectation for these guys. 8-2 Giants. Can you imagine? Like they are touchdown favorites this week. And then what's next week? Next week is what's the look ahead there? 4. So yeah. Likely winners 2 weeks in a row here to go 8-2. The game after that is, of course, against the Dallas Cowboys on a Thursday. That would be Thanksgiving. 8-2 versus 8-2 on Thanksgiving.
Happy
that
holidays.
Kind of writes itself. That sells itself, Andy.
That's a good game.
What do you think that number is going to be? Make a total for me there. Dallas hosts the Giants on Thanksgiving.
Field goal.
You think?
If they're 8-2, it probably gets back down to it. I would open that 4.5.
Okay.
What would you make it?
More like a 6.
I think they'd be worried it's going to get bet down though.
I think there's still a pretty big gap in power numbers between Dallas and the Giants. My power number for Dallas is it's getting to like good, almost elite territory here.
I agree. I'm just saying I think it's 4.5 because I think you're going to see Giants money. I don't know. Dallas is such a public team too. Maybe I'm wrong there. So 4.5 is where I'm at.
I'm excited now. I hope Dallas wins and Giants win now. Next couple weeks. That's going to be a fun game. I want something fun on Thanksgiving because Bills without Josh Allen against the Lions ain't getting me out of bed. Mac Jones against
Kirk Cousins and
also.
Mac Jones and the ultimate
it's a rough one.
Generic white guy off.
It's a rough one. I'm gonna be in Hawaii though, so I can sleep in for the first game. I'll be wide awake, wide open.
My wife has to work Friday, so I might.
You might be laying off the sauce.
Well, it's hard to ditch your family on Thanksgiving, but I might just try. Go drink. Go act like I'm 22 again. Go drink with my buddies all weekend.
Oh, that's fun.
After a family Thanksgiving, I still cook. I might try to make a Wellington again. God, that was fun. All right, yeah. Steelers Saints pass.
Is this the shower fart of the week?
This is the shower fart, guys.
I think
USA
it is.
England on Friday. This is a rough one. The Saints, just real quick, the Saints offense really came down to earth against a good opponent who had time to prep, and they looked bad. And honestly, they probably shouldn't have gotten that last touchdown. That was a gaffe, an absolute gaffe on their part to let Juwan score on that play. That could have been a field goal drive there. We probably shouldn't have had to sweat the under, nor the second half as much as we did. The offense looked real rough. I know Kamara was playing with a bit of a heavy heart, and we're missing every wide receiver who matters. But it's still probably more of the same. TJ Watt may be playing. I'm hearing, little inklings of possibility he's coming back. The Steelers team is, probably out of it at this point. 6 losses already. You're well behind in the division. Not the kind of team that gives up. That's not the Tomlin way, but. So, Steelers money line or nothing. So we're on to Chicago.
Yeah, no strong opinion either. I agree with all your takes there.
This is the correct take. Why on earth would Watt come back?
He's a sick person.
the kind of people who play football, their brains aren't right.
Real quick
before
on
they play football, and then afterwards, it's even worse.
Who's quarterback here for New Orleans? Dalton for sure.
I think I'm assuming it's still
I hate
Dalton.
that this is all up in the air questions of some of these teams. Okay, all right. Don't love
it may be a decent teaser. A couple people asking about teaser legs. At +1.5 at home with a super low total. It's a great teaser leg, but they also have a quarterback who is very prone to throwing bad interceptions. So I'm probably
is it Trubisky or Pickett? Trubisky, right?
I think Pickett's starting.
It's Pickett? I thought he was hurt for like extended time. See, this is the information on these shit games, man.
Well, this is what happens when they go on bye. But yeah, I'm almost sure Pickett's ready to go.
Okay. All right. Well, if you get confirmation, by all means, tell me. It's Papa says Kenny. Okay.
Yeah, it's Kenny and Andy.
All right. So that's why I skipped this game. I didn't even really try to figure out who these players were, who was going to be the starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Trubisky. Honestly, Trubisky's better.
Detroit, Chicago.
Jalen Warren overs. That's a nice look. Randy Mitchell, prop guy.
Oh yeah.
Prop guy. We got a prop guy here.
Brady,
I think he's right. Like there's very strong indicators that they're going away from their first round pick. From
Harris is hit the pine. Detroit versus Chicago. Preseason, this would have been a pretty solid guess as the shower fart game of the week, but probably going to be fun watch. This is going to be a fun hang.
The Bears might not.
Fun hang.
The Bears might not win that many more games. They actually have like 4 games in a row where they're very winnable.
Yeah.
I worry about my season win total unders. At the same time, it'll be funny to see GRP lose, but the Bears are fun now. And it's because they've just given in to the square peg round hole fallacy. That's not even a thing. I made that up. But like these teams that just force, hey, this is how we got to play football. It's because how everyone else plays football. They just said the last few weeks, hell with it. Just do what we're good at. If we end up with a quarterback that has 200 yards rushing, like that means we had a good game. And if they're just going to do that against bad defenses, it's going to be fun. Last week was not just fun because we had the over. It was fun because it was fun. And I think that's what we have now. The Bears are at home against probably a worse defense than they faced last week.
Oh, probably?
I don't know. I've been downgrading Miami pretty hard. Like Miami between the injuries and like Miami has taken a real tumble in my defensive rankings. But the Lions, yes, the Lions are a worse defense. The Bears should be able to do all the things they've been doing for several weeks. And yes, the Lions have struggled on offense. But they were in a weird game last week where they didn't have to score a lot because Green Bay just kept turning it over and giving them the ball via touchbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of a two-parter there. Green Bay sucks, and they still move the ball. And you can't throw a red zone interception without getting to the red zone 3 times or throw 3 of them. So Green Bay, as bad as they've looked, they move the shit out of the ball on this Detroit team. Chicago's going to do that. And at the same time, Detroit, the week before they put up 27. Detroit can get going against a bad defense. And this Bears defense, after losing several players to trades, is a bad defense. These are 2 bad defenses. We just need the Lions to be semi-fun here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
So we bet over 48 on Sunday.
This market move has said basically the same things. These are 2 frisky offenses against 2 undermatched defenses. Although, I mean, shoot, man, we're throwing dirt on the Lions defense. See, they had the player of the week last week. Did you catch his name?
The craziest part is the player of the week on a Lions team that's garbage, and the offensive player of the week on a team that lost.
Yeah.
In the Bears.
He earned it though.
He did.
His name is Kirby Joseph. He is apparently the starting free safety for the Lions right now. Because of his 2 picks and his past defense against Aaron Rodgers, he was your defensive player of the week in the NFC last week.
Thanks, Aaron. Aaron used to get guys awards by throwing him the ball. Ask Devontae Adams, and he's still doing it.
What a hero. What a leader.
I presume Seth Livingston here. huge Detroit trench advantage on offense. Yes, that is
Good
if
point.
there was one shining example of something Detroit does well, they have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've lost pass rushers, they've lost Roquan, and you're facing an actual decent offensive line, I think Goff has time to operate in this one.
Here's a prediction for this game. You ready?
Yes.
Someone takes a 3-score lead, and the game ends as a 1-score margin.
Yeah.
That feels like where we're going here. This looks like one-way traffic for Lions or Bears, and then ultimately it's a game decided by a field goal.
Yeah, tiny hands Goff outside in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Worrisome.
How cold is it going to be?
It's not that bad here.
I'm looking at 37 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds. That's not bad.
It's nice out.
Tiny hands Goff. I'm only worried about him in the rain outside.
It's not even Bears weather yet.
Yeah. Let's move on to Miami. I
Cleveland.
don't. Okay. Oh yeah. You tee this one up then, because I am struggling on this one.
It was more of the downgrade. The downgrade for the Miami defense has been pretty heavy on my end.
So why not just play the over?
I don't know if that's the Browns' game plan here.
Okay.
I've seen, Brissett and Cooper have done a little, but it does just feel like hey, we can probably run on this team. In fact, we have 2 running backs who can run on this team. And then if this pass rush looks anything like it looked against the Bengals, the Miami offense is not the same as playing the Bears. Even at home, the Bears defense was very beatable. Tua wasn't even, some of his balls were kind of fluttery, and he wasn't looking that good, and they still just did what they wanted.
Box score hero, though.
Yeah, this is not the same. This one might end up going over. I have this total pretty close to where it's at, but I don't think the Dolphins should be laying 3.5 over a good defense. And, a team that kind of knows what they are on offense and can move the ball on them. Anyone apparently can move the ball on Miami right now. Miami is an over team, but I worry if the Browns really, really go run heavy, it does slow this game down a little. And the total probably should be somewhere between 48 and 50. So I don't think you're not on anything. You might be on to something betting this over, but I prefer
No, actually, I like the under. That was why I was asking.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the chat loves the over.
I think the under is the play here. I think the pass rush for the Dolphins can be impactful in this contest. I think both offensive lines scare me here.
Yeah.
I think that the Browns defense is a very different handicap as currently rostered compared to what we saw from them in weeks 2 through 5.
Yeah, that was jarring how well they played against Cincinnati.
It was, and that was like sit up and notice. Like if that was just, hey, they all showed up and gave you an honest effort. Well, they're coming off a bye now. Presumably, you get that again. I think the market may be cold on the Browns defense prematurely.
I bet Cincy in that game. Yeah.
It's weird.
Jeremiah or emotion did not practice today. I don't think John Armstead.
I think it seems absolutely ridiculous to get involved with an under in a game where Mike McDaniel is scheming, because he's been absolutely on fire. Like all the success you want to, all the back, patting on the back you want to give to all the accolades you want to lump in for Tyreek Hill as offensive player of the year, like all of it trickles out of what McDaniel is scheming in my mind. And that's not a great feeling going up against the Browns team that, certainly is vulnerable, particularly in the passing game. But I agree. I think Browns can play a little bit of keep away here. I think you're going to see a little bit of a, the Browns are just one of the worst freaking red zone teams in the NFL. They're just one of the worst. And a lot of that comes from Brissett being under pressure, not making great decisions in the red zone. And so if the Dolphins can at least flip that button Like if this is a bend but don't break both ways, and we're sitting here on Sunday and we're like, holy shit, there was 1,000 yards of offense, but only 40 points in this game. I feel like that's kind of where we're headed.
I know. It's like, did you see how many yards the Packers had, man, last week?
Yeah.
380, 389.
Yeah.
They scored 9 points. Like that's what happens when you turn over in the red zone. And if you're Stefanski and you look at, hey, we don't have Justin Fields, but I don't know, Brissett can hustle a little. Brissett had, he's had a few games where he's had 5-6 carries. He had a 43-yard game earlier in the season against the Jets in a loss. Like I'd get him moving a little too, because that Miami defense was not great in pursuit against Fields. That would be the game plan. I'd put Hunt and Chubb and Brissett. I'd go full Falcons on their ass.
I get it.
And play ball, and like you said, ball control.
I'm going to be watching to see what's going on with some of the Dolphins injuries. If Xavier Howard is a go, I'm really into this. If Teron Armstead is out, if Austin Jackson's not going, I'm really into this under. I do like in general. Because there's surely Xavier Howard. He DNP today, but it was vet rest, so he may go. This may be a Howard game. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna play it. It's 49.
Yeah, getting Howard and Ward back on the
I think this should be like a 47-ish total. So not a huge edge for me, but I'm gonna fire a little under here. We'll see. We'll see how stupid I look. Let's keep moving. The Minnesota Vikings are playing the Buffalo Bills, and the market has begrudgingly started to admit that Allen may not go.
Do you think this is still all right? So last week I bet Tennessee plus the points, and I said it's a midpoint number, and I don't care. Like if he's announced out, it goes to 14 and whatever. Such is life. I'm betting it now, and that shit happened. Probably a midpoint number again, but we're not in a spot where we're going through like 12, 13, non-key numbers. Like if we wake up on Friday and they say Josh Allen he's not ready to go, he needs to rest his elbow for a week. Does this cross 3? You need some money, and you need a lot of info, money, bets, influential bets. Like crossing 3 after it's already dropped this far to a midpoint number this far in the week feels like I would bet on Case Keenum in that. If he gave me a 2.5 on, I don't know, top 3 backup in the league, a guy who started, a guy who's won playoff games, a guy with plenty of weapons on a good team against probably a fraudulent Vikings team who should have lost to maybe Washington. And yes, I know the referee gave him a little help there at the end, but it's not like it was not like a dominant performance in any of the wins Minnesota's had. So I don't know. Do you think this crosses 3? First of all, if it's announced, it's Case Keenum. Do we go to 2.5, 2?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it seems like it's even though it's hard to cross, it's sitting at a midpoint. It's got to go somewhere.
It was 50-50 this morning. It's looking to me like 75-25 right now. My fare for this game with Case Keenum, I make the Bills 53.5% win probability. My fare with Josh Allen in this game, I'm at 78.5%. So anything in that 60 range, I think is middle shot. They're letting the market tell them one way or the other. With the Herbert Jacksonville game, that crossed 3 on an assumption, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think the market's holding this up if it seems in any way likely that he's not going. We talked about this a little on Monday halftime show, I think. If I'm the Bills, my outlook on the season is I want Josh Allen to be 100% and peaking on January 29th, whatever day the AFC Championship game is. Yeah. I want him peaking on that day. Whatever arc gets me there, is my best course of action. And if that means resting him for the remainder of November, then so be it. So I think strategically, as a franchise, giving him an opportunity to get his elbow feeling good makes the most sense. You can work through some of your other offensive issues in the meantime with Case Keenum. Realistically, you're not where you want to be offensively right now anyway. If you're the Bills, it's been all one dimensional. It's been all Josh Allen. If he's gone for a couple of weeks and some other guys step up and kind of take on some leadership roles here and start doing some shit, and it's not just standing around and watch Josh Allen, I think you're going to be a more complete team in the playoffs, and I think that's good. So I think this ultimately is a good thing for the Bills achieving their ultimate goals for the season, if they give him a couple weeks off. And I think the schedule breaks for that. If they get Minnesota this week, Cleveland next week, and Detroit the following week, you have 2 out-of-conference opponents in this 3-week stretch. If you drop a couple of those games, not really going to change your ultimate outcome here. You don't want to be just throwing games for the hell of it, but if you go 1-2 during this stretch and you have a 4-loss, you're sitting with 4 losses, you still control your own destiny if you win out in the AFC East. So I think realistically, this is a good opportunity for them to rest Allen and get him right.
I'm surprised Kevin O'Connell didn't win the Powerball. Talk about hey, Miami's in town. Well, you don't have to face Tua. Oh, you got to go to Buffalo. Yeah, it's going to be the one game Josh Allen misses in 3 years. What is going on? What is going on with the Minnesota Vikings and their luck?
It is.
I'm still 50-50 Allen starts. I think it's the wrong move if he does. I think this is, like Drew says, it's almost NBA at this point. Hey, we're going to be in the playoffs, guys. We don't need this one. It would be great, but it's a non-conference game at home. I think you can still put Keenum out there and feel. I mean, I have Keenum at 55%.
Yeah.
I would bet Keenum at 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Weather, I might. I don't know. We'll
potentially see. An issue here. You got a dome team heading outside. Vikings are on We Might Be Frauds watch every week. And I think we got to try to track down the Bills injury report here to see if some of those defensive players are coming back, because that's really been kind of the name of the game here for the Bills on the defensive side of the ball. Guys like
Milano practice, that's good.
What's your read on Poyer? You think he goes?
I don't think so.
How about Vaughn? He was just a vet rest. Okay. How about Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis, Kair Elam? There's 3 starting cornerbacks, all limited in practice. So Trey White presumably should take a step forward in terms of his ability to.
Yeah, I don't have a read on that. That would be awesome if he was back. If you're the Bills, but yeah, Poyer seems unlikely. Everything else seems likely, and then White, no read.
Okay. Okay. Well, if the Bills defense is I'll cut to the chase. I played the shit out of the under here, speculating that Josh Allen misses, and also that there may be some weather, and that you might get some good news on the defensive side of the football for both these teams from an injury standpoint. This could be a pretty sloppy, pretty ugly, and even let's just pretend that the Josh Allen goes. Bills running out a vanilla game plan, keeping him in a pocket and not asking him to throw down the field and trying to get in and out of this game without exposing him to risk of injury. Obviously, that's plan A. So anyway, under
the Golden Sombrero Bowl, as these teams have both lost 4 Super Bowls each.
Whoa.
0-4 each.
Oh, man. You know that this is also potentially the little Minneapolis Miracle reunion.
Yeah. This is Keenum's to Diggs, and I'm yelling, "Get out of bounds, Diggs!" And then I'm like, "No, run, Diggs!" And this is crazy, and I'm drunk, and people are throwing beers around. It got real weird after that game. That was a fun game for anyone who watched, obviously, and we'll speak more about the Vikings as we get closer to finally popping their fraud bubble. Denver, Tennessee. I played a little on this under before it dropped, just because I've been doing that for weeks and weeks. I can't recommend anyone plays it this low.
This is very, very low.
This is Big Ten Iowa's on their third string quarterback, and they weren't good to begin with. And they're going up against whoever is the worst team out of like the East, like, an Indiana team the year after they graduate the good running back, and the total's at 33 and dropping. This is wild. It's not even bad wet. Like, the weather's supposed to be pretty decent. I checked. This is crazy that we have a total. This is a preseason total. I had some 39. Congrats to me, I guess. I can't really tell you to do much with this. I even at this spot, I can't recommend playing it over.
No.
There's a very thick tail to this game, ending up with both teams in the teens.
Yeah. Would you get involved with a live under if you get through the scripted portion and there's modest success for these teams?
Yeah, I don't mind live betting a game like this. The Broncos defense is super legit. And
no Chubb. Doesn't spook you?
No, not really. The rest of the team has been fine.
What about somebody's been hurt? Let me find out what the dealio is. Because again, we got teams coming off of buys here. Forget what the hell's going on. Baron Browning. Is he going to go?
We'll live.
Okay. All right.
And the Titans
don't
the big trust Achilles, Derrick Henry.
Right. Well, that's kind of interesting. But yeah,
didn't use him, and this Titans offense didn't do diddly jack shit in the second half.
Part of the reason though also is that the Titans offensive line fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, they suck.
Nobody's more mad about not getting to play this game than Bradley Chubb. He can play for a different team though.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I think
he'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know what to make of this game or the Broncos at all. The fact that they were on and by was kind of a sigh of relief of having to even think about them. So skip this one.
Offense looked a little lively in the second half in London, but I think they're live to win this game. Titans aren't that good.
I didn't watch that London game, and I have enjoyed a couple of weeks now with the Broncos not in my life.
Yeah, no TikToks.
It's been nice.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Oh God, that's been among the worst things this year, storyline wise. Just all the Russ stuff. I hate it. Hate him. Hate it. Get out of my.
I'd rather have a midterm election every week than Russ doing it.
Hard disagree. That's been rough. It's
easy out in California.
Yeah, thank God the crypto bubble bursting.
Maybe
that
a
off
quick
the news cycle.
Let's give Tennessee a quick bump though here. Congratulations to the inhabitants of the state of Tennessee. For most of you, 20% of you, I don't know what you were doing, but 80% of you voted to outlaw slavery. I kind of see this. That was
props.
That
Good
was
job, Tennessee.
I didn't think the most jarring headline wasn't going to be one of the Senate races. But yeah, Tennessee, good job. 20% of you. Looking at you guys. Oregon was close too. Oregon was like 55-45. Like I don't know what's going on in the world anymore.
Oh my God.
Okay. In an even weirder situation, the Indianapolis Colts will have some guy calling plays for them this week.
Yeah. I almost feel like I can't even talk about this game because I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
I bet some under 18 on the team total.
I think that's the secret pod play, clearly.
Yeah, I know the Raiders have been really bad in the second half, and the Raiders defense can be scored upon, but this could be the most slapped together vanilla offensive game plan that we've seen in quite a while, starring Sam Ehlinger. And I mean, just key in on JT and say, I guess, Ehlinger, you've been bad. Now do it with an offensive coordinator that no one's really met before.
You know what's happening here? You know when a player gets traded at the deadline on offense, and they're like, "We're going to have a limited package for him because it's going to take him a little while to learn the playbook." Well, that's happening now with the entire coaching staff. They have to learn the playbook on a short week. With the I keep saying rookie quarterback. I know Ellinger's in year 2, but dude has two starts in his career. He didn't attempt to pass last year. Even any of the mop-up duty he had, he didn't attempt to pass. This guy is effectively a rookie. He's on the road. He's up against a team that's trying. I am just absolutely baffled why this didn't move a field goal. I don't understand. This should be a 10-point game. The Colts are an absolute joke. I don't know if they're even trying to win. I don't know if they know if they're trying to win. I don't know if the players in the locker room have to be looking at each other like, what the fuck is happening?
What did we get ourselves into?
What has happened here? Like, sometimes you fire a coach and the team rallies around some leader in the locker room and plays hard. Looking at like Derek Carr last year leading the Raiders to the playoffs after they fire Chucky. Like, there are certain spots in certain like sports where a team fires a toxic coach or manager, and I'm like, first guy in line betting that team in the next game. Like, here comes the bounce. Like, everybody, wake up call for that team. Here we go. This is not that at all the way that I see this.
I just can't bet the Raiders. Like, it's so hard to bet a team that just has coughed up leads to bad teams. Randy might be onto something. I know limits are lower for this sort of stuff, but Eagles -10 versus this team next week, that might be 14 when it closes.
The Eagles getting Jeff Saturday on the schedule makes too much sense, says Sam. It absolutely. That's the name of that's been the story of their season. Them and the Vikings just walking under
Parks
lights,
Frazier.
sun running, as we like to call it. I matchup wise, even if this was a Frank Reich rolling it out there, I'm still kind of into the Raiders here because you have a good pass rush against the Colts team.
It's not a good pass rush for sacks, though. They don't finish. They get pressure, but they don't finish. So I think that's kind of a key they got to be hopefully working on. But even if you're not finishing, if you're getting a lot of pressure on this young quarterback, it might not matter if he's on the ground. It might be even better as he's throwing it into the arms of a waiting linebacker instead. And this Colts offensive line it's a great matchup for them. If they don't get 3 or 4 sacks, I'm going to be very mad. It's an offensive line that's underperformed to a high degree compared to where we thought it could be at the beginning of the year. Max Crosby should have 12 pressures. Minimum.
I like it, man.
Yeah, secret pod play. We're calling it early. Team total under 18,
let's do it.
17. Anything 17 and a half or better. Saturday has also said he doesn't believe in any of the analytics, which, I'm not here to debate that. Sometimes there is spots where you should kick the field goal, even if it's 50-50 or better. But like he's just said, I work hard for points. I'm an offensive lineman. I'm going to take the points when I can get them because they're free. No one's ever missed a field goal.
Real quick, I just had to look it up. That was why I was being quiet. Speaking of turning pressures into sacks.
Yeah.
Sam Ellinger did it at a 90% clip last week. He conceded 8 sacks on 9 pressures.
Well, if there was ever a get right spot for a defense, then I forgot he got sacked so many times. That was a good scheme against him too, and that's why your sack leaders on that team.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Let's keep moving here.
This one's tough to talk about too. I bet this on Sunday. If you joined us on Sunday and you came along with us on Arizona, congrats. Both quarterbacks are hurting this one.
Potentially a shower fart game of the week number 3.
Yeah,
after Denver, Tennessee, and Arizona Rams, man.
This could be John Wolford
versus who is the backup in Arizona? I should know this because I bet the Cardinals today. And then I saw the
Daniel McCoy.
Oh, Colt McCoy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his real name.
Daniel Colt McCoy. See, unlike Brian Hoyer, Daniel Colt McCoy made the correct decision about going with a nickname, whereas Axel Brian Hoyer did not. So what was Axel Brian Hoyer's other name? He had 2 cool names, and then Brian was the worst of them.
It's like Axel Brian Covington, Lord Fartington, the third Hoyer. Yeah, he had a couple cool names, and he went with Brian.
His dad's name is
Life of
Axel
Brian.
Hoyer, by the way.
My brain immediately yelled John Skelton. God, I hope it's not John Skelton.
Axel Edward Brian Hoyer.
Eddie Hoyer.
Axel
tracks,
Eddie
too.
Brian Hoyer. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't love the idea of Colt McCoy surprise sighting here, but I do love the idea of betting against a Rams team that is terrible and is being
broken on offense.
and is being rated like they're still league average, let alone league. The Rams are being rated like they're in the lower quartile of the third quartile, Andy. And this team, I have news for you, is in the upper quartile of the bottom quartile. And I would tell you that the Cardinals clearly in the upper quartile of the third quartile. So why the Cardinals are dogs in this game, I cannot understand it. I bet the +3. It's down to 1.5. I would stay away at this point, at this price point, but not expecting Stafford to go. I would like an investigation as to when exactly he was concussed and whether this is hiding some other injury that may be going on, presumably with his elbow. But all that aside,
he went into protocol Tuesday, I guess.
Okay.
And we're just hearing about it today.
Did he hit his head on the MRI machine as he was getting his elbow MRI'd? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
this price. This is very hard to bet into this game right now. If you're just diving into this now, very hard to bet into this game currently with the number moving so much past the 3, and then also you're putting yourself at risk of it being a Colt McCoy bet. You know, we've made our bet. At least we got a good number. You know, if it's Colt McCoy, I said, well, at least I got 4. You know, if you were to take a +1.5 or money line here, it would hurt that much more if Colt McCoy ended up starting. I don't think I'm worried about Kyler Murray starting or not. I'm a little worried that he's hampered and isn't able to scamper. You can't scamper if you're hampered.
Hamper, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of surprise injuries in this one. Just out of nowhere.
I think the Cardinals is going to win, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish I hadn't bet this game. I
The
bet this
offense
game because I
looked
knew
good
the number
last
was going to move, and I now regret it. So I may shoot for the middle here. But
It'll be fun if
Cardinals,
it's John Wolford, though.
Cardinals are on my card. Yikes, man! This Rams team won the Super Bowl, man. What the hell? Oof. There's a lot of comeuppance about this year's NFL. You know, just in general, like
It's like 80% comeuppance, right?
It is. The whole everything about Brady's life feels like, you know, deal with the devil sort of payment come due.
But then there's other teams like the Eagles and Vikings that it's just all
Falcons can't not cover. Like the Falcons are covering machines.
Fortuitousness.
Yeah. It's been a big year for comeuppance. Let's keep moving.
I thought it was comeuppance for a long time.
You know who else has suffered from
question.
comeuppance?
What would be your fare for Wolford versus McCoy?
McCoy -2.5.
McCoy's
been decent.
More.
He's been decent as a backup. Wolford has been nothing.
If it's Wolford, if it's announced it's Wolford, this crosses to a.
You know what? You know what's funny and sad is that it's not Skelton, because we had that 2 years ago. Do you remember that Week 18 surprise of Skelton v? Was that Week 18 or was there only 16
Wolford
games?
started a playoff game, dude.
It was Wolford won a playoff game, didn't he? He beat the Seahawks. He beat Russ Wilson. Wolford won that game, and then Goff came back the next week and got his ass handed to him by Rodgers, and then they traded Goff.
Rodgers, yeah.
Speaking of comeuppance, piece of shit leader like Aaron Rodgers is getting a healthy dose of some this year as well.
I bet the Cowboys here.
I did too. It's 5.
It's too much for a road team, but man, I've downgraded Green Bay so much, and they are injured all over the place.
They really
They lost a corner. They lost one of the best edge rushers in the league. They have multiple receiver injuries, and they've been bad to begin with.
Aaron Jones had his ankle X-ray last week. Like
Dallas has a good defense, and if you can't throw the ball and they're just able to stack it with athletic, fast linebackers and good safeties, like have fun running the ball against Dallas, even at home. So if you become even a little one-dimensional against this Dallas defense, good bleeping luck. A lot of this comes down to Dak has to have a good game. He can't do any of this pumpkin turning into that he does once in a while.
Yeah.
Charles, and real quick too, Charles asks, who's the next head coach fired? I truthfully don't think we see one until the season's over at this point. Cliff just isn't a risk to be fired mid-season.
Dude, there's eight guys. There's 8 guys on watch.
I know, but 6 of them are first-year head coaches. It's so hard to be fired as a first-year head coach. And Cliff just isn't a risk with that ownership group. Like, honestly, the only guy that could be like he would have to lose the locker room and they'd have to have some jarring losses would be Dan Campbell. So many of the other coaches that are like would be on risk are first-year guys, and it's just it's a bad look.
You know who's a sneaky candidate? Jeff Saturday. Because the players might just be like, you know what? We're not going back out there.
I don't know. Ursay don't give a shit. Ursay says something, it's happening.
All right, we'll see, man.
Also, they're not going to list him. Nobody's listing him. You can't bet on that. You'd have to ask someone to put that up. I'll talk to Dave Mason. I truthfully think the next head coach that gets fired is going to be on Black Monday.
Okay.
And it might be a first-year guy. It might be Hackett. It might be Lovey. It might be a first-year guy, but it's not till when the season's over.
Yeah, I have Staley on watch right now. I have McDaniels
didn't even
on
know
watch.
Lovey's name.
I have Lovey on watch. I have McDaniels on watch. Did I already say him twice? Or Hackett, McDaniels. The three of the AFC
Lovey.
West coaches are on watch. Todd Bowles is on watch if Brady decides he doesn't want him there anymore. Dennis Allen is on watch. Steve Wilkes is not getting that job, but that's more of a just interim taking away the title.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera is on watch if there's a new ownership group in Washington.
Campbell, somebody asked me about Ron Rivera today. I said, I'm not even 100% sure Dan Snyder can tell you what their record is right now. That guy has other things going on. Like, he's not worried about the head coaching spot. He's worried about if he has to sell the team or go to jail or get sued or have another deposition. Like, there's a decent chance.
Yeah, he's busy doing public PR wars with the AG. The Cliff Kingsbury to round out the list, by the way, also on watch. All right.
But yeah, we bet the Cowboys speak to this offense. Looks like maybe no Zeke again. He's out there, but he had a big knee brace on. I'm fine with that. I know Pollard isn't a guy that you can give 30 carries in a game.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to cycle him out, but the other guys seem to do all right. And obviously he was great in a starting role. So I think this offense matches up good against, like we said, a Rashawn Gary-less defense, a defense that is missing now another corner and wasn't good to begin with. So let's go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
I like it, man. Let's go Cowboys. Still don't believe they're live for an NFC title, but boy, oh boy, am I going to bet a lot of them this coming down the home stretch here. Oh, buddy. LACSF mentioned that I think Staley is on watch because he has what's a polite way to say it? He has sucked out loud in a lot of
brain worms.
he's got a brainworm problem. We went on and on about it on Sunday, so I don't need to hoe that row. But absolutely important to see some improvement here from the Chargers on the offensive side of the ball if they're going to compete for a playoff spot. Otherwise, forget about the season and forget about Staley staying long term. Niners, on the other hand, are power rated by me and by the market like an elite team, yet they are 4-4. So they better play up to this rating, or they could find themselves very much only in contention for a wild card spot, despite the fact that the market still thinks this is the best team in the NFC West for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it looks like Debo is practiced today. He's trending in. This is good. They're getting some pieces back, and the biggest part of this handicap was me looking back at I'll bet I lost last week. I said I think the Chargers are live to score a lot of points, despite having to go to Palmer as the number one receiver. You have running back that can catch the ball. You have a quarterback with a cannon arm. You should be able to scheme against this defense and score 30. They looked like garbage against a bad defense.
Yes.
With, one pass rusher, no cornerback pieces currently. And now they're going up against a good defense with a skilled coach, and they're a bad run defense. Not only Christian McCaffrey, but Debo. Like, can you imagine? They're going to get just DP'd by Debo and CMC. Like, what a bad combination of two players to go up against this week when your rush defense looked like that against Tyler Algier. And yes, Patterson's great, but like Patterson's Debo light. So I mean, it's just gonna be more. Maybe Debo's Patterson light at this point. Honestly, put some respect on Patterson's name. But it's slick. It is such a bad match. Like Jimmy G they could do something here where Jimmy G doesn't have to throw very often.
Yeah. I wanted to take the Chargers in this game every which way I passed.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. The principle, and this is how sad of a state of situation we're in with LA. The tipping point for me, no Trey Pipkins likely in this game.
Yeah, their offensive line has just never gotten healthy again.
If you told me we would be in week 10 of the NFL season and I would be making decisions about taking 7 points with the Chargers against the Niners, a preseason game that was expected to be a pick'em, and the reason that I didn't take the 7 points was because Trey Pipkins was unavailable, I would say something has gone horrifically wrong with this season. This is outrageous. Trey Pipkins matters because his absence means healthy serving of Storm Norton.
Apple Valley's only.
Against Nick Bosa. I mean, at that point, I kind of want Herbert to get the night off for his own protection.
Yeah.
Don't love the situation.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about this pass rush versus backups on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a long
man. Niners coming off a bye. I do. You know what? I do like a fun way. You know how I'm going to enjoy this game. I do think that Jimmy G is going to throw a pick.
Okay.
Derwin James gets him. Bryce Callahan gets him. Somebody gets him in this game.
I'm going to put the Jimmy G pick in my
Asante Samuel Jr.
entry.
Get a Jimmy G picks. Get a Jimmy G pick in your prize pick.
That's like the only thing I got right on my last week one was the Andy Dalton pick. Threw a couple, one got called back, but yeah, I think you're right. It's still a decent secondary. He's still liable to throw some bad passes, and yeah, it's and people are pointing out San Fran as a teaser leg. Yeah, it's not a bad teaser leg. It's a low total. I don't see a lot of scenarios where they don't at least win this game by field goal. I'm not super keen on laying the touchdown with them.
Okay. I'm excited to I would like to bet this at halftime. I think the Niners are going to be a decent. I'd like to have a good opportunity to bet the Niners at halftime is where I'm going here.
Okay.
Like if this is a situation where the Chargers are up, but their offensive scheming's not. Chargers are up because Jimmy G's thrown a pick and their offensive scheming looks trash. I would like to get involved with the Niners at that point because I don't think the Niners are going to go away from what their strength is, and I think that matches up really well against this Chargers defense. So overs probably in play 45.5, but again, Chargers could get utterly skunked if Herbert goes out in the third play of the game because Storm Norton has had 2 holds and then a complete
turnstile,
and Nick Bosa has taken Herbert out of the game. So that is entirely possible. And at which point,
yes, Nick Bosa and Storm Norton may have to go to jail Sunday night for murder and accomplice too, because he's just going to abuse him. And I do worry. I like Justin Herbert. I don't want him getting hurt, but yes, I'm worried.
I think Storm Norton is the worst player with NFL minutes this season.
I don't know. Rodgers is up there. Just from an attitude standpoint. Attitude is contagious, guys.
Yep.
You know those posters where it's like all black around the edge and there's a picture of something and then there's the words and it says something. Attitude is contagious.
Yeah, he's a cancer that took down an entire franchise. That's impressive. That was
patient zero.
This was a 13-win team multiple years in a row, and he completely destroyed it from within. All right, that's enough throwing dirt on Aaron Rodgers. But,
it's fun, though, isn't it?
Fun. It is
Ooh,
fun.
Casey Brown says safety, yes.
Ooh.
Jimmy G has like 3 safeties this year, so it's not the dumbest look. I like it. A lot of prop talk today, you guys. I love you guys.
You know who else is a good second half bet, by the way? Freaking Atlanta Hawks, man. Oh, what are they doing in the fourth quarter? Never mind. Take it all back.
Never mind.
Oh my God, what did they do? What are they doing? Wild NBA action up and down the card tonight.
I did not get a chance to bet any NBA props.
So it was a weird day because everybody got the day off yesterday, and that tends to throw
Leatherwood would Leatherwood has not turned out to be.
Has he played a snap in the NFL this season?
I think
I don't think he has.
He's had to jump in a little. I thought
he was on the Bears, right? I thought the Bears basically picked him up and then put him right on IR. Has he taken a snap?
I thought he had to play a little earlier in the season.
Let me see here. Let's see.
So he got put on the IR and then they activated him like a couple weeks ago. I thought he had to step in a little. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
But for where he was drafted, very big disappointment.
Yes, I would say so too. A lot of those Raiders were.
Before since we
Henry Ruggs also did not take a snap this season. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
This is the time of the game where we come up with a team total, but we already came up with it, so I will give a book recommendation. How Not to Be Wrong: The Power of Mathematical Thinking. I've only read the intro, so I can't really recommend it yet, but I found this in my pile of books and I never read it. So
I'm going to save up all my reading for when the FTX book by Michael Lewis comes out. But I like that. Good. I like that. That's a good rec. Send me the
New York Times bestseller. You can't see it because it's yellow.
Send me a brief review. I'm excited to read that.
Jordan Ellenberg, math guy. I like these math professors to write books.
It's a lot of the thinking probabilistically.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like probabilistic thinking, using math in decision making, that sort of stuff. We'll see where it goes.
Somebody brought up the sad Timberwolves. My God, 20 points down to the Chris Paul-less Suns tonight.
Finch was like
just no spirit on that team
to win Coach of the Year before the season.
I bet some of that.
He's broken. They're gonna figure it out. It just takes time.
We need a big turnaround for any kind of positive anything to happen with that Timberwolves team, because right now they are on the outside looking in, and a team like the Jazz just continues to overachieve. I need the Jazz to regress hard, man.
The season of the NBA is a game of runs too.
It is, and you know who's running flipping hot is Lauri Markkanen. This guy can't freaking miss. It's unbelievable.
I almost bet the Youngstown under, and they had like a 96-point second half. So
in college football, that's got to be a record.
That's a win for me.
Oh, you're talking college basketball.
Yeah. So my totals have been kind of shaky. I haven't been betting them, just kind of looking at them. And I got mad at halftime because it was the first half under hit, and then just all hell broke loose in the second half. So and I do have one bet, but it's not going to be something I figure out tonight because it doesn't start for another half hour and I'll be sleeping. But I do have some Florida Gulf Coast +5. I think you can still get a +4 at Chris right now if you want. It's been a little bit of buyback after it got down to 3.5. And with that, Maxey MIP is looking good.
2-man race. Maxey and Bain. Maxey needs Harden back ASAP. That's my thoughts. No regrets.
Mr. Wayne.
Bane. Oh, I like that. I like that.
All right, let's let Dan go. He's got second half of an extended Law and Order SVU episode to catch. We'll see you tomorrow night for the halftime of producer Dan's Falcons trucking of the sad stack of PJ Walkers.
You gotta be a little concerned if you see PJ